freaking go, PHL Nation. We are still 24 hours removed from one of the best nights to ever be an LSU Tiger fan. Good to see each and every one of you. Cannot believe it's been an absolutely crazy day. I did not think in the world of social media that the biggest fan base LSU would be going back and forth with would not be Florida. It would be Tennessee. I'm just shocked at how many Tennessee fans out there are going back and forth with it with LSU fans over what a potential pitcher might do from Tennessee that entered the transfer portal. But now that baseball season is over, we're going to be talking all about football pretty much from this point forward. But I do want to start tonight's live stream with a very important discussion. Okay. Where does Dylan Cruz rank amongst the all-time best LSU athletes? Is he on the Mount Rushmore, if you will, of the best LSU athletes to ever play? Let me know in the live chat tonight, or let me know in the comment section down below. Is he amongst the best of the best of the best? Here's what I will say. It's obviously a very difficult conversation because you're comparing sport to sport and you are looking at so many different factors, such as era and all of that. I will say this, though. When it comes to maximizing value to a program, in other words, how good were you from start to finish? You could not have possibly done more if you are Dylan Cruz. You won college baseball's Heisman Trophy. You won a national championship with, by the way, you played pretty well in the LSU postseason. You were an All-American not only this year, you were an All-American as a sophomore, and you were a freshman All-American as well. The bottom line is this. You may not think that Dylan Cruz is up there with the Shaquille O'Neals, Joe Burrows, the Simone Augustuses of the world. But what I would tell you today is there's not many LSU athletes you can point to and say that they were consistently elite, consistently healthy, consistently available for the maximum amount of years you potentially could have had them, right? So 2020 at the COVID year, 2021, 2022, 2023. Now he is the number one overall pick, or at least slated to go in the top three. This is a guy who is going to do very special things moving forward. But historically speaking, it is hard to argue against him now as the best LSU baseball player of all time. And it is hard to argue against him being on the LSU Mount Rushmore of the best athletes to ever play at the school, whether you're looking at it from a lens of just him as a baseball player, or if you're looking at it through the lens of just athletes as a whole. And by the way, one thing you can say about Dylan Cruz that you can't for a lot of the great LSU athletes is he actually got a national championship. I don't think that is as big of a deal when it comes to judging somebody individually, but here is to me, and I was trying my my absolute best to find the best comp for Dylan Cruz, someone that you could legitimately compare him to. And I thought of Patrick Peterson, very similar players, right? They were both five-star recruits, if you will, coming out of the state of Florida. They both had 3 seasons where they were elite. Dylan Cruz a little bit quicker, but obviously Patrick Peterson all 3 years was a big-time player for LSU. And to me, the most impressive thing about Dylan Cruz, if you were to take anything away from this, is yes, he was elite, but he was very healthy. He just did not miss any action. He played basically the maximum amount of games. And that right there is so unbelievably impressive. Okay. So we say hi to Antonio holding it down on Facebook. What's up, Jared? The Master Blaster. What's up, Skipper, Jared? And many others. Joshua, good to see you on a glorious Tuesday night. Dylan and Bregman are up there outside of pitchers. Obviously, Ben McDonald. Obviously, there's many others. Kevin Gossman. There's so many guys you could just point to saying that this guy is up there. This guy is up there. This guy is up there. Eddie Furnace, whoever you want to mention. But Dylan Cruz, what a freaking career. Now, on to the next topic here, and then we're going to get to some viewer questions. Once again, hit the like button, hit the share button, share this on all social media platforms. If you're watching this on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, it doesn't matter. Let me know. I want to get into the next thing here, which is obviously the question that I've gotten the most of today. What about Brian Kelly? What is Brian Kelly next up on winning a national championship? And here is my response to a very complicated question. When it comes to winning a national championship, when it comes to actually taking the team to the promised land, you have got to have one major wild card, and that is luck. You have got to have a lot of luck. There are very few teams from start to finish that consistently blow everybody out. Okay. There are going to be games where you are going to need luck. Okay. And LSU baseball, let's call it like it is. This postseason run was magical, right? You needed a pitching staff that had not been great during the middle of the season outside of Paul Skeens and a few others. You needed a bullpen to play their absolute best baseball in Omaha while the bats got a little cold, and they got it done. Okay. You also needed to win a lot of close victories. You needed Trey Morgan to make one of the best defensive plays by any LSU Tiger in any sport. You needed Pearson to make that jumping catch in left field. You needed, Tommy Tanks and Cade Beloso hitting those big hit after big hit after big hit. You needed all those things for you to win the College World Series. LSU women's basketball. We never talk about the ultimate folding in a major moment that I think I've ever seen when the Utah free throw shooter who shot 75% on the season went to the free throw line and airballed a free throw that would have tied the game and missed the second that also would have tied the game. Yet both Utah probably wins in that Greenville Sweet 16 game. Okay. The truth is, you need luck. And it is hard to predict luck. Now, was LSU baseball in the grand scheme of things the most talented team from top to bottom? Yes, I think everybody would agree with that. Was the LSU women's basketball team the most talented team from top to bottom? Probably so. You would argue them or South Carolina. Is LSU football this next year the most talented team from top to bottom in college football? They're probably in the top 5 to top 10. Okay. Even though Tennessee fans are after me on social media right now, that's perfectly fine. That's part of it. Someone thinks I am only 5'4". My retort to that is, who gives a rip how tall somebody is? Some of the most powerful people were short. The most powerful person in the world of comedy is short. Okay. The truth is, I don't care how tall or short. I don't care where you come from. I don't care where your fan bases are. I just find it a little interesting that Tennessee, who lost LSU twice, is just yapping about LSU nonstop. I just find it weird. Okay. I have got to be just as direct as I possibly can here about LSU football. They have what it takes to win it all. This is a very experienced roster with national championship level talent on it. You return so many people at so many key positions. Both your offensive tackles back, quarterback back, top receiver back, top tight end back. Best defensive tackle back. The other one is back healthy. Your best linebacker and pass rusher kind of sort of back. And you do return some in the secondary. You would like to return more pieces. You also return your punter, deep snapper, and kicker. Next year shapes up really nicely. But let's not short count the luck that it took for Kim Mulkey and Jay Johnson to win it all. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? So it's not lucky that those coaches won a national championship. Jay Johnson's been one of the best coaches at Arizona and at LSU. Kim Mulkey, of course, has been one of the best coaches in the world of women's basketball. But to win any national championship, any specific season, you have got to have luck. Will Brian Kelly have it next year? Let's hope. Let's hope. Because last year we had a lot of it. We really did. We had a lot of luck to win a lot of close games. Okay. So cannot wait for a glorious Tuesday night live stream. Should be a good time. I don't understand this. I never quite understood calling somebody short as a put down. Now, I do see the TikToks. I am not tall. I'm not 6 foot. I'm not even close to 6 foot, but I'm not 5'4". But I have no problem being short. It's never truly bothered me at all. Now, being taller probably would have made me a better basketball player, and it was my favorite sport for a good portion of my childhood. But it's not a big deal to me. I actually cheer on the short kings. You'll never consider me an Alabama fan, but I love me some Bryce Young. Clip that, share it all over social media. I cheer for short kings. I'm a Drew Brees fanatic. And it is ironic that Tennessee fans are after me on social media. I just brought up why are they so after LSU fans right now? I just saw a bunch of it. I don't normally pick fights with other fan bases, but I was like, shouldn't you be watching some film on Spencer Rattler next year so he doesn't foil your national championship hopes next year? And it's ironic. Here's a funny thing. That I was labeled as a Tennessee guy last year. I picked Tennessee to win the East last year. I picked Tennessee to go well over their win total last year. It's my favorite play. My favorite play. I picked Tennessee to beat Alabama. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And I ultimately, on an LSU channel, share my adoration for my favorite quarterback of all time. Obviously, excluding quarterbacks of my favorite team. That's a different thing. But objectively speaking, my favorite quarterback of all time is Peyton Manning. I've said that a gazillion times. Made a little quip. Now the Tennessee Vol Nation are coming after me. And that's perfectly fine. That baseball team repped LSU very well. Football could be the best. The tell on BK is going to be, can he do it as he hunted? We haven't seen that yet. Yeah, and what's very interesting, Cole, is I think the Alabama win did wonders for him. It did wonders for him because obviously that had been a big criticism of Brian Kelly. He doesn't know how to coach up in the big games, right? That a big moniker against him was how he did not step up, and Notre Dame would consistently get beat down by Alabama. Now explain that. Explain it. It's absolutely wild to me. Absolutely wild that Brian Kelly finally got it done. Coached a great game. Offensively, we could have been more efficient in that game. But defensively, thank God for Harold Perkins. Thank God for Jarek Bernard-Converse. Turned a huge page for us. Now, what we're going to do is on Thursday, we are going to start breaking down different portions of the season. Don't forget, tomorrow we will do a 6 p.m. live stream here on Power Hour LSU, and we will only go for an hour. Okay. I know some of you like to watch the whole thing, but you don't like staying up late. So, a happy medium. I know some of you want us to start streaming a little bit earlier. We are going to do a 6 p.m. live stream tomorrow, and it will end at 6:45 to 7, somewhere in there, because I got an SEC show the next day. Okay. Yeah, I don't get it. I've never understood the height thing. I've never understood why height is anything. Like, for instance, here's a good example of this. I think the reason why height is such a popular put down is because women will only date men that are 6 foot and above. And for the ladies out there that are watching this, you're missing out. Short guys, it's where it's at, baby. It's us. We are him. We are hims. Short guys run the world. Know that. Believe that. Take that with you. Me, Kevin Hart, Bryce Young, we're taking over. Drew Brees, Kyler Murray. It's all about us. It's all about us. And who wants to date anyway? Ain't that right, Jared? Huh? Next thing, recruiting. Obviously, there has been some decommitments. It kind of got lost in the fray because LSU baseball was so compelling. I also want to share with you this. We might not go too late tonight. I woke up this morning, and sometimes it's like this when you're staying up late and you're stressing out so much over all these high leverage games. I woke up this morning and I felt like I got hit by a Mack truck. I swear to you, I felt like garbage waking up today. Garbage. And I'll be real with you. I don't know exactly why that is. I think it is because, covering all those games and all the live streams and all of that, it catches up to you. It does. But what I want to do is share with you something that I truly do believe when it comes to some of these decommitments. Obviously, the thing that you would like to hear is, well, so-and-so's coming, and we're opening up a space for this person and that person and so on and so on. The truth is I have no word on just any commitments from those positions that decommitted. One was a 3-star corner who flipped to North Carolina. The other was a safety hybrid linebacker type who was a top 125 recruit, so a really good player, and he flipped to Houston. Okay. What I would tell you, though, is LSU is pretty stocked up at those positions in this recruiting class. The one player that I want you to keep an eye out for, though, moving forward, and we did a Patreon breakdown on our Patreon account, patreon.com/LSU football. We had someone sign up. Once again, if you sign up, you get a Joe Burrow card in the mail from me. Okay. One thing I will consistently point to is offensive line recruiting should always be your number one priority if you're an LSU football fan. And it's not just because trenches and all that stuff. The SEC is the league of trenches and trench warfare, and you got to win the battle of the line of scrimmage. It's not necessarily that. It's just historical trends that show where LSU is at their absolute best and where they are at their absolute worst when it comes to football recruiting, right? LSU football is a school that is best at recruiting wide receivers, right? That's always been a position of strength. Running back has always been a position of strength at LSU. Um, Quarterback obviously has been a position that, once again, everybody struggles with. It's not been our absolute best, but it is something that you only need one of, and you can address that via the transfer portal. Defensively, defensive line recruiting needs to get better for this next cycle, but for the most part, it's been good. Linebacker, defensive back, so on and so on. The only position where you can't say LSU is consistently amongst the nation's leaders in recruiting, in NFL draft picks, is the offensive line. And I want you to keep an eye out for this name, Ethan Callaway, a 6'7" offensive lineman out of North Carolina. He has visited Tennessee, he has visited Florida State. He is obviously coveted by a lot of people, especially for 6'7" and 300 pounds, and you can move like him. Uh, a very interesting prospect. That is someone that LSU is really moving the needle for here to get him to be a part of this class. Once again, out of North Carolina. It's not an area where LSU has done a lot of recruiting. Dad Moss went to the same high school as Jordan Davis, the linebacker, not the country music star. So yeah, I think the world of LSU's recruiting overall. Obviously, they're always going to recruit in the top 5 nationally, but you've got to get offensive linemen. It's not a position that you can regularly get people out of the transfer portal. So, OL recruiting is just going to be so huge moving forward for LSU. Okay. Tony, good to see you. What's up, champions? TJ holding it down. Good to see you on a glorious day. But yeah, let's see. Now, next thing I want to say, we talked about Ethan Callaway. Jelani Watkins, a receiver out of Houston, is someone else to keep an eye out for. Also, keep in mind 2025s. That's something that LSU's putting a lot of work in right now. Thought it was really cool that Justin Jefferson, spent some time at the Under Armour camp with some guys that we are after. That's always a really, really good thing. So yeah, I think the 2025 class is going to be a really good one as well. Louisiana stocked up for that cycle. Now, the one final thing I will say about recruiting, and then we're going to get into more of your questions here. Once again, feel free to super chat. We are obviously going to go, straight to whichever super chat comes in first. If we get up to 100 in super chats, we almost got there the other day. I actually sent one of these out not too long ago. I got another one of these Garrett Nussmeyer 1-of-1 cards. Got a nice little shine to it. If we get to $100 super chat, we'll give this out tonight. We'll also give out a Kim Mulkey card. It was really cool to see one of our own PHLers get to meet her last night. If you super chat, let's say 20, I'll send you one of these. How about that? There you go. Now, I do want to talk about one recruit in particular. And you guys know I love me a Louisiana 3-star. Those are my favorite recruits. And it's the PHL spirit all rolled up in one, right? A 3-star Louisiana kid, I'm going to cheer for every one of them, probably harder than the 4 and 5-star kids. And it's funny because we have 4 and 5-star parents of those kids that watch our channel, but I'm always up front, right? If you're a 5-star, everybody wants you. If you're a 3-star and you're from Louisiana, you are just hoping to get that offer. You are just hoping to get that offer. All right. I do want to talk about one, though. Kari Lee. Okay. Kari Lee. Y'all, This kid is very fascinating. 3-star, plays with a lot of juice, plays with a lot of energy, plays with a lot of the most overused word in sports, but he does play with a lot of it, swagger. He goes out there at 330 pounds. He is wearing the Alvin Kamara turf tape on the bottom of his arms. I love him. I do. I really do. Now, he is on the heavier side. 330 is pretty big for a high school junior. But obviously, LSU, strength and conditioning, Jake Flint, they'll know what to do with them. I just love this kid's motor. I do. I think he will be a very good player at LSU. Okay. And you know how I am when it comes to the SEC. You know how I am when it comes to the freaking SEC. Okay. The thicker you are, the better. I like weight. I do. I'm a short, chunky kid, though. I'm only 5'4", apparently. But I'm a chunky kid. I was a chunky kid in sports. Still the slowest soccer starter ever at my high school. I'm proud of my chunkiness. And I'm proud of the chunkiness on this LSU baseball team. And I like thicker athletes because the SEC is the strongest, baby. You got to have some force. You do. So, yes, he is big. Carly's a big dude. But he can run. He can run. He doesn't just lumber out there. I mean, a running back, and when I was watching this kid, a running back will break off for a 60-yard run. He'll try and go chase his own running back down. I've never really seen that from an offensive line prospect. So I like him a lot. And I know he committed early, so he's not going to have a lot of hype. He's going to kind of get forgotten about because he's a 3-star offensive lineman. I'm really freaking excited. Really, really freaking excited for this young man. I think I know one of his coaches from yesteryear. I think, right? But Jared, our first super chat, he wants the Kim Monkey card. So I got you, man. I was thinking about sending you one anyway. So works out. There you go. So this one's going to Jared. I do have another one I could send out. So there you go. Juwan Johnson. Now, I will also say this because I do see this comment quite a bit. These decommits want to play immediately. They don't want to wait their turn. Let them go. Here's what I would follow up and say, okay? Always keep in mind that sometimes decommitments happen because they both want to part ways, or one side wants to part way and the other didn't really want to. Okay. I'll tell you this. The kid that flipped to Houston, LSU still wanted. But it was probably better for everybody involved that they went their ways. The next thing I'll bring up, and this is something that I think quite a few of you have brought this up behind the scenes to me, is at this point, the content that I put out and what I talk about the most, there are a lot of you that like recruiting. You love to talk recruiting, right? But there's a lot of you that don't, and a few of you have said, "Hey, why does any of this matter anymore?" It does, but it might not as much anymore because of the transfer portal. You know, I wanted to bring this up as well. One of LSU's rivals lost someone today, Ryan Mallett. He was a very good quarterback at Arkansas. It was a really sad story. He drowned, and he was only in his mid-30s. He played for a few teams, and I really hate that. I loved watching Ryan Mallett play because he was essentially Jamarcus Russell. He had a cannon, but at times he could be inaccurate, and that's sad. And he died today. It was really sad stuff. But the reason why I bring him up is in yesteryear, Ryan Mallett, began at his career began at Michigan. All right. But the coach got fired at Michigan. Okay. And Ryan Mallett was like 6'5". He was slow. He just had a big arm. And Michigan hired Rich Rodriguez, who coached Pat White. So Pat White is one of the best dual threat quarterbacks of the modern era, right? And Ryan Mallett said, "Hey, I can't fit in this offense. I got to go somewhere else." So this is why I am happy the transfer portal exists. Ryan Mallett took a leap of faith. He was a kid based in Texarkana, Texas. He took a leap of faith to go all the way up to Michigan. The coach gets fired, and they bring in a triple option coach or a coach that wants to run the veer or whatever. And he had to enter the portal. By the way, back then, you not only had to wait a year, the year counted against you. Okay. So this guy had to transfer. And then after he transferred, he knew he only had 2 years of eligibility. Okay. Now, if Ryan Mallett wanted to transfer, he would be immediately available for Arkansas. And, that is, I think about people like that. Now, it worked out because he was great his 2 years in Arkansas. But, it's why the transfer portal is needed, right? Now, next thing I'll bring up is there is some new NIL legislation. And you know me, I'm not the biggest get into the mumbo jumbo legislation kind of guy. It's just not what I like to do. I don't like reading small fine print. It's not why I got into football media or just LSU media in and of itself. It's not my favorite thing to do. But here's what's going to happen with the next NIL legislation. And this is going to be my best educated guess. Okay. Right now, the biggest holdup with NIL legislation is okay. And then TJ says, "Oh wow, didn't know that." Yeah, it's pretty sad stuff. But yes, he drowned, and it sucks. And this is the second story of an Arkansas Razorback being involved with a drowning incident. There was another Arkansas player named Peyton Hillis, who also almost died saving his kids who drowned or almost drowned. Okay. We say hi to Mick. I see TOV in here. I see Nolan in here. Good to see you. Okay. Here is what I'm going to say about the NIL legislation. Guardrails need to be put in place. They just did. Limits are normally a good thing in life. Okay. Limits on anything is pretty good, right? It makes everything safer. It gives us rules to abide by, and so on and so on. Okay. What I will say about this NIL world that we're living in with the collectives is collectives aren't looking for name, image, and likeness. They are looking to pay these kids essentially a salary. Okay. And one of the biggest things that is being debated is, do you get tax exemptions for donating to a collective, which under certain circumstances is labeled as a nonprofit? Okay. As you can see, the stuff is getting boring and it's minutia and all that stuff. And I get it. I won't bog down all this stuff because I don't fully understand it. But this is how these laws work. And what I like to think about whenever there is a complicated story such as this, what do the people in power want to happen? Do the people in power want the kids to get more money, or do they want the schools to get more money? They would rather the schools get more money. Okay. So no matter what happens in all of this, what I think the laws that'll be put out there, what I think they're going to attempt to do, and this is just a theory, I think they're going to try to get money back towards the schools instead of towards collectives with certain rules and all of that. Because I don't think anybody wants there to just be unlimited caps to give to collectives and players making an unlimited amount of money. Okay. So it's tough. It's tough to really break it all down, but I think right now they're trying to figure out the tax exemption, the nonprofit. Do the students have to file taxes? Are they actually employees? I don't know. And then it gets into, you know, are these athletes still even student athletes anymore? Are they even amateurs anymore? Or are they professionals? Okay. Brian, good to see you. Seems like Simmons to Texas is a lock now, could be committing soon. I'm just gonna be honest with you, man. I've done a decent amount of research on Colin Simmons because he is, the best player I've seen thus far in 2024. And obviously, he has LSU ties. I don't think, even if he commits tomorrow, it's not over for him. This is not one of those he's locked in kind of situations. And I think everybody knows that. And I think he knows that, right? Um, some kids, when they're committed, they're committed. This is a guy who knows he's got some transcendent abilities, and there's not many great pass rushers in pretty much every class. I mean, there's just not. And that is what the second most valuable trait to have on your team outside of, your quarterback is someone that you can get to affect the other team's quarterback. I just don't think anywhere he commits, even if let's say he commits to Texas and he ends up at Texas, I don't think LSU is going to be done recruiting him. I don't think anybody's going to be done recruiting him. But I see him making visits to Oregon, see him making visits to SMU. Obviously, he's very interested in LSU. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, and Angel Reese have all taken photos with them. I mean, we're doing everything we can, and I understand it would be a bummer, but this kid is a monster. He is absolutely positively amazing, and let's hope he does end up picking LSU. But we talk about him quite a bit. And then obviously, as TJ astutely points out, there's a lot that when the actual games happen, that's going to change, quite a bit with how this recruiting class will actually shape itself out. So yeah, keep all of that in mind. Keep all of that in mind. Now, don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe button. We'll get to as many questions as we possibly can tonight. I'm not feeling the absolute best. We're going to keep it moving. Okay. Next thing is I want to talk a little bit more about the current team. And I want to actually, and I was planning on doing this anyway. Okay. And I'll answer this question because Jared super chatted, a while ago. When NIL was approved, they were thinking, let the kids sign and sell a few photos and jerseys. It won't be that big of a deal. Absolutely. And I think that's part of it, Jared. I think, when you actually break down NIL, all right, so let's think of some famous examples of NIL and kids not being able to make name, image, or likeness deals. So there was a case of this YouTuber who quit playing college sports because he couldn't make money off his YouTube, right? And then there's the Todd Gurley case with the cash and the autographs, and then Johnny Manziel. There's rumors of autographs and all that stuff, and those made headlines, right? Because those are juicy stories. Why can't student X be able to go sign some autographs for $500 or whatever it is? So they thought, okay, that's the end of it. But the truth is, 99% of athletes that are out there, no one gives a rip about their autographs. They just don't. Now, when I give this out, like obviously, people get excited about LSU autographs. Some of it is because I'm giving it out, and some of it is there's Garrett Nussmeier fans out there. Cool, right? But the truth is, most autographs from athletes just don't move the needle. Most athletes that are out there, if they become the spokesman of a product, it doesn't make people run to go get that product. And LSU is unique because they probably have more superstar athletes than any other school out there right now when it comes to celebrities and needle movers and NIL. And obviously, more of those are women than men, which is pretty cool to see. But yeah, the truth is, most of college football players, they just want to get paid. And with collectives paying them the money that they agree to, you're essentially paying them a salary. You're not getting them to read off, hey, come to Sparky's car wash or whatever. Uh, you know, that's just how it is. And we also see this, and I know this just from looking into different NIL deals in the past. A lot of these athletes sign with the same people. You notice that? A lot of them sign with Gordon. A lot of it signed with Canes. You think that's all the NIL deals that are happening? No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Thought this was pretty cool today. I had a viewer of my football card show. I can give these out tonight. Got some Tyrann Matthew Saints cards right here. How about that? That's pretty cool stuff. Look at it. Let's see, what are we at? We are at $125 super chat up to this point. How about that? We'll give one of these out. Next $20 super chatter, I'll send you one of these Tyrann Matthew Saints cards. I'll let you pick. Now, I want to talk about the current team. We obviously feel really good about this current team. We do, right? We also see this current team as one that performed 10-4 last year, very admirable. But if you go look at a stat called game control, now there's different definitions of game control. It's a very subjective thing. Thank you so much, Jared, our second super chatter tonight. Well, you're the same as the one earlier. Jared, you get to pick the next topic, go right on ahead. But the next thing that I would bring up about the college football season going into next year and LSU next year is we rarely went out there and dominated teams. Okay. And hopefully that changes this next year. I want to see us blow the brakes off of some other SEC teams next year. The only SEC team we did that to last year was Ole Miss. Okay. There you go, TJ. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. TJ, you get to pick the next topic. Anything you want to talk about, we'll go straight to it. Um, but what I would also say about that is, game control isn't the be all end all. Once again, people have different definitions of, game control, but essentially, I look at game control as when your win probability is greater than 95%. How long is that time period? And I actually looked this up. A very good stat from Jared Dealey, very good analytics account. And LSU was actually 31st in the country in game control. And Ole Miss and Mississippi State had very similar game control to us, right? Now, Georgia was in the top 10, Alabama was in the top 10, Tennessee was in the top 10. We want to be there, right? And the reason why that is important is because I think any one of you could see that a lot of what we accomplished last year, we had some good fortune. We had the ball bounce our way. We had it was a bunch of seeing eye wins, right? We were able to figure it out in the fourth quarter or come back from a deficit. And that's fine. A win is a win is a win is a win. But it's also not very stable, right? And you want to go out there and you want to blow the brakes off of teams for also this reason. You take a look at most of the dominant LSU teams of this modern era, they were teams that blew the brakes off of other teams, right? Now, that '07 team, we didn't really blow anybody out either. So you can win a national championship that way. But they were also the only two-loss national champion, right? We're in a very similar spot. If we would have beaten A&M and magically beaten Georgia, we would have been in the playoff. But we weren't close to that. And I think some of that was because, well, offensively and defensively, we were very good. We were very efficient. We had very timely plays on both sides of the ball. But I don't think you could ever point to just maybe a few times you would say that we were just dominant. And I think that this football team, especially this group with so much returning, wants to get to that level. They want to go out there and dominate the day, win the game early, put them out of their misery. And the great teams do a lot of that. They do. It's hard to do. It's hard to do, especially when the third phase of the game was as abysmal as it was for us last year. And you are certainly right about that, Hal. But to counter that, to counter is your special teams won't stink if you never have to punt the ball, if you never have to kick field goals, finish drives, score tutties, you know? Mm. Now, next thing, and you guys feel free, ask any question you want. TJ, you get to ask the next one. Um, I really, really, really found the college baseball season to be very interesting for this reason. I think LSU is and this is going to apply to football as well. All right. We'll go to Jared's super chat before I get into this. I keep picturing Haley say, Carter, I watched that old PA shirt you had hanging up. There were some stains on it. Oh, man, I would cry. I would absolutely cry if the Joey B auto. I could see it happening, though. If it did happen, oh, well. It would make for a funny story. I do want to bring this up, right? Haley would cease to exist. Auto prize shirt. It would be sad. How many autographs do we have on it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6. So we just have to track down all 6 of these people. It would be kind of hard because more than half of them are in the NFL, but still. Let's go to John, who super chatted last night. It seemed that NIL money would go to athletes whose name, image, and likeness was being used to make money for the university exclusively. Logic was that they'd make a market rate cut for their NIL. I see what you're saying. So, actually, let me see. Oh, okay. So, them playing for the university is them representing the money that they bring in for the university, thus them getting a cut of that. So, Greg Penn, who's a solid player, represents LSU. He goes out there, plays really solid football for us. He's not a superstar, but he represents. I see what you're saying. So the collective is part of that. True. So I could see that. We'll go to TJ, and then I got one more NIL thing that I want to share. Just off the top of your head, I know Florida State will have strong QB and receiver play. Which matchups do you think we have advantages at or need to exploit to win? Okay, so great question. Now, let me start off by saying this. One of my favorite college football analytics accounts is CFP Matrix, Dave Bartu. I love him. Okay. And he just released his top 10 coaches. And this is not just head coaches, all coaches. Okay. And Mike Norvell of Florida State was ranked as a top 10 coach in all of college football. Now, that doesn't mean he is a top 10 head coach. He is rating Mike Norvell's play calling ability amongst the elites of the elites. And look, he is a very good play caller. But what do we know about Florida State? They are a big play explosive offense. They want to hit the absolute big play. That is their favorite thing to do. Okay. So, what do you know? Florida State, they had some big plays on us. For the most part, we were pretty solid at stopping the big plays. I truly do believe one way you can stop Florida State offensively is not give up the big play. Okay, remember early in that game, one of their touchdowns was like a flea flicker or something like that. It was a trick play. It was an explosive pass play down the field. And they were able to hit some chunks on us as well. Okay. I think you need to force them to methodically work their way down the field. When I see Florida State play, sometimes they don't play patient and just take what the defense gives them. And I think if we do that and force them to try and run the football on Mason and everybody up front, we should be better. We should be in a better spot to stop them. But then again, they only scored 24 points, and we made some good stops. Now, they should have scored more. We stopped them on the goal line twice. One was a fumble that we had nothing to do with. So, yeah, I think the matchup that we need to win, TJ, is the explosive play battle. Because Florida State was a really good explosive play offense last year. We were not a great explosive play offense last year. And in that game, we did not hit enough explosives. On their side of the football, they hit a lot of them. Not as much as they did in other games, but still. Let's go to the Master Blaster. Thank you so much for your generosity, man. I'm feeling fine on cloud nine. Go Tigers one more time. I'm feeling fine on cloud nine. It does feel pretty daggum good. I see BT in here. What's good, Dan? Kedrick's in here. Kedrick, I appreciate all your generosity. And he is going to the game, and he said he is getting messed up. Now, Tony, you get to pick the next topic. You let me know. BT says, hey, do we actually have any advantage over Florida State? They're loaded. They are loaded. Their receivers and our receivers, it's probably a push. Their tight ends and our tight ends, probably a push. It's close. Mason's a really good player. They brought in the best tight end recruiting class in the country this past year via the transfer portal. Their quarterback versus our quarterback, drastically different styles. It's close. Their offensive line versus our offensive line. It's close. Their running backs versus our running backs. I'd probably give them a slight advantage, but it's close. Our running backs are really good. Their pass rush versus our pass rush. They probably have a slight advantage there. We lost Ojolari. They brought back everybody. Their linebackers versus our linebackers. Pretty close. And their secondary versus our secondary. We both teams have a lot of holes to fill in the secondary. They lost Jamie Robinson, who was the straw that stirred the drink. He was a very good player for them last year. Had a really good game versus us. His open field tackle on Jaden Daniels was one of the better open field tackles I've ever seen, especially knowing how good Jaden was for us breaking tackles last year. We really don't have a major advantage over them, and that's fine. This is what happens when two top 10 teams play. I wish every year could be, hey, we got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. It doesn't matter who they have. We're going to win. It's not meaning. That's why you won't ever see those guys again, But I will say the biggest difference is we did not play our best players versus Florida State. And that's the difference. Okay? Now, one last thing on NIL, and then we'll get back into some more Florida State chatter. Okay? One thing that makes LSU very unique, all right? So, LSU is now the extreme, okay? We saw this in Omaha. LSU baseball fans are extreme, okay? I think a lot of you saw the viral video of the lovely couple doing some things outside of the stadium last night. That was one of the wildest videos I've ever seen. That was obviously extreme. But I mean extreme just in a more rational sense. Yes, LSU fans bought 68,000 Jello shots. It's still crazy to me. But LSU baseball fans are extreme. I posted a Twitter clip of Jordan, a PHLer who was at the game, and we interviewed him from the game, and he was talking about how the ground was shaking. The LSU chants were so loud. LSU baseball has two extreme sports, okay? They have women's basketball, which is by far the biggest brand in a sport that doesn't have a whole lot of them. And we have baseball, which is now the biggest brand in a sport that there isn't a whole lot of them. And the interesting thing about Florida is Kevin O'Sullivan has been their coach for a long time. And he won a national championship. Their fans didn't show up. Their fans did not show up for the College World Series. They had 4,000 Jello shots or 66,000 Jello shots. And I know Jello shots aren't, the best gauge on fan bases, but think about it this way. If you were a business, if you were a Florida Gator business or you worked in Florida, there could not have been a better $5,000 ad spend than buying 1,000 Jello shots from the Rocco's place, because everybody was talking about Todd Graves and the Gordon guy nationally. It was on websites everywhere that Todd Graves and Gordon bought all these shots. But there wasn't a single Florida fan, there wasn't a single Tennessee fan that thought to do that. Their fans just don't support their baseball teams like LSU does, right? Um, fans don't support women's basketball like LSU's going to from this point forward. And now, the biggest LSU star that is at the university is a gymnast, right? So LSU's got all these very extreme NIL situations. It's just not like that at other schools. It's just not. And it's kind of an LSU thing. It's kind of, we just have really good athletes and social media stars in these certain sports. But it's wild like how extremely popular some of these LSU stars are in other sports. Like I think good luck buying a Dylan Cruz or Paul Skeens autograph now and not spending a lot of money. It is very expensive. I wish I would have bought more. I actually never bought any. I only have one Dylan Cruz autograph because it was expensive at the time. I'm never going to be able to afford it. I mean, it is expensive now to get Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens memorabilia. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. NIL at LSU is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Roy Kent. Congrats. Well, I almost gave a spoiler, so I'm not going to. Fritzy, good to see you. All right, so John, I am not going to say this aloud. Okay. I'm not going to say this aloud. And the reason why I'm not is because I said this very thing before the LSU Florida State game. And Brian Kelly, who is a great in-game coach, he proved it multiple times this past year. He's an excellent in-game coach. God, the Florida State game was probably the worst coach game of his career. He was not great in that game. So I'm not going to jinx it again, but I do agree with this. Overall, BK is better than Norvell between the headsets. Okay, let's go to Black OT. I see Rico. Good to see you. $15 for number 15, a true baller who was one of the first to carve up DBU. Rest easy, Ryan Mallett. I like it. So we just did a Ryan Mallett tribute not too long ago. All right. So let me do this. All right. I did the transfer portal thing about how Ryan Mallett would have been better served in the transfer portal era. What I'm going to do is share with you a story. Okay. So, the biggest Razorback win was when they beat Jordan Jefferson and LSU in Little Rock to go to the Sugar Bowl, to play Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl. All right. And Ryan Mallett was the quarterback of that 2010 team. Okay. So what was very interesting, let me make sure I get this story fully correct. Okay. Let me see. Let's see. Let me see. So in 2009, we beat Ryan Mallett in Tiger Stadium. It was a legendary game. And, recently I did a Chad Jones video And that was the Chad Jones hit. Okay. And, you know, we barely beat Arkansas. It was multiple overtimes. It was a great game. Ryan Mallett tore us up. He tore us up that game. I mean, he really, really, really played well. What was his final line? He was 17 of 39 for 221 and a tutty, and it was cold. He made some really, really good plays in that game. Then the next year, Bobby Petrino remembered that loss, and he drew up a play that he remembered that he knew would have worked on the LSU defense. And then in 2010, he still had the napkin on the plane ride home from Baton Rouge where he drew up the play. And he was like, I'm going to run this versus John Chavis and LSU next year, and I know it's going to work. Then in 2010, he called a timeout, and he called the play, and believe it or not, he ran it versus Tyrann Mathieu. He knew Tyrann Mathieu was aggressive. It was some kind of double move or something like that, and they won the game. And Ryan Mallett was so difficult. Like, it was really tough to stop. He had such a big arm. He really was their Jay Russ. And he was just a good player, really good player. Now, I say all of that because that play caller is back in the SEC. Bobby Petrino is one of the best play callers to ever coach a game of football. He's a weird guy. He's not a program builder. He's definitely not, morally righteous, but he can call a play. The Petrinos, the whole family, they know offense. And I actually attended a coaching clinic. Petrino sent all the Arkansas offensive coaches to Baton Rouge one year to host a coaches clinic, to talk to Louisiana high school coaches about how they run their offense, and obviously to recruit Louisiana athletes, because Arkansas doesn't produce the athletes that Louisiana produces. Yeah, so Arkansas lost that Sugar Bowl versus Ohio State on a blocked punt. So there you go. But yes, rest in peace, Ryan Mallett. Very sad stuff. It's crazy, man. A lot of these iconic quarterbacks that LSU has played dying way too soon. Jared Lorenzen, the hefty lefty, man. He could play. He could flat out play. Rico's in here. Good to see you, man. It's good to have you back, Rico. I need you here more often. You always bring the great comments. BT, Mike, everybody in here. The Nuss Bus drivers in here. Good to see you. There's 1,000 different LSU channels, and you choose to be a part of mine. I really do appreciate it. 300 yards passing, 100 yards rushing for Jaden. How about that? Now, I will say this. We'll say this publicly. Yeah, that was crazy. Petrino is lethal. He is lethal. And the kind of scary thing is, is he doesn't have to do the BS head coaching stuff. He could just call plays. I'm telling you, Bobby's bag is deep. It is deep. Second watch most baseball game this year. It's crazy. I will say this about college baseball. I did receive a few complaints that, we did a lot of college baseball stuff. They were kind of the same complaints when we did a bunch of women's basketball stuff. If LSU was winning, I don't care the sport. I'm going to talk about it. There's always be a football first channel, right? MLB will always crush college baseball, but man, these college baseball games were so close and so compelling. I loved it. I loved it. And shout out Chris Budden. I like her a lot. She did an excellent job with like the squeeze play stuff. I thought that was really fun. During the regionals, watching all those games at one time, I really enjoyed that. I really, really, really did. Let's see here. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. The Pillsbury throw boy, the abominable throw man. Holden, good to see you, man. The round mound of touchdown. Battleship Lorenzen. I love it. What a legend. When you weigh 400 pounds, it's not necessarily too. Oh, okay. Yeah, he was hefty. Well, oh, I'm gonna have season tickets for the baseball team next year. Let's go. Let's go. It's the Tommy Tank show next year, man. It is going to be interesting to see how he hits. They showed his like hitting splits when Dylan Cruz was on base compared to when he wasn't. It was pretty drastic. But yeah, if you missed it earlier, I have got to put Dylan Cruz on the Mount Rushmore of all-time great LSU athletes. The guy is simply surreal. The guy is simply surreal. And the one thing I think, the football comp would be would actually be Patrick Peterson. They're both out of Florida. They were both 5 stars, and they both impacted the game in many ways. And they both gave you 3 years of elite play. But Dylan Cruz has a Heisman and he has a national championship. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So at this point, most of you agree this. Most of you agree that Dylan Cruz is on your all-time LSU Mount Rushmore. I think it is. It's just hard to argue when you have 3 years of elite play and you're a 2-time All-American. It's just hard to, and you won the Heisman essentially. But yeah, I think he's on mine. He's got to be on mine. And even if he's not on yours, you can't argue against the maximum being produced out of one person. Dylan Cruz gave you the maximum. He didn't miss games, and he never had a season where he wasn't a top 5 player in the sport or a top 10 player in the sport. It was crazy, absolutely crazy. And the next thing I would say about Dylan Cruz that makes him truly special, your best ability is availability. He was always there. And look, the guy's going to make so much money. He probably doesn't care about it, any Mount Rushmore or anything like that, but he won an Addy. Okay. So, like some of you are poker players, right? I love poker. I used to play a lot. I still watch a lot of poker. And there is, the great poker players are good at extracting the maximum amount of value out of every hands, right? The best poker players don't necessarily win the most hands. It's the hands that they win, they extract the most positive EV out of the situation, right? And this is an instance where if you're comparing Dylan Cruz to other athletes, where he separates himself from other LSU athletes is he was just so elite, like immediately, like right off the jump, freshman All-American. It's hard. It's hard. Really, really, really hard. Joe, Dylan, and Angel build the Mount Rushmore of this era now. Oh, well, who would be the fourth? That's hard. I guess I don't know. It's hard. I'm gonna go with Harold Perkins, baby. After he wins a Heisman this next year, why not? There you go. Burrow, Cannon, Cruz, Pistol. That's not a bad list. I think I would era adjust it though. So the modern era would be Angel Reese, Dylan Cruz, Joe Burrow, and somebody else. I guess Paul Skeens at this point, or Jamar Chase, either one of those two. So Richard likes talking about some of the other sports. I get it. So there you go. Now, next thing. Define modern era. Okay, so 2015 to now. Let's go uber modern era. So last 10 years or so. Virtual Mount Rushmore for each time segment. Oh, okay. So let's do pre 2000. That would be Shaquille O'Neal, Pete Maravich, Billy Cannon, and Kev Falk. I know it's 2 basketball, 2 football, but still. Who else? And that's tough. Pre 2000. Paul Dietzel, obviously. I'm sure I'm forgetting quite a few here. Tommy Casanova, Ben McDonald. Yeah, Ben McDonald probably should be on there somewhere as a Golden Spikes. Now 2000 to 2010. I guess that would be 2000 to 2010. I guess that would be Nick Saban, Skip Bertman, and then just 2 athletes. at that point. And then 2010 to now would be Joe Burrow, Angel Reese, Dylan Cruz, and Tyrann Mathieu, maybe, or Kim Mulkey, if you will. Should we should separate coaches and players, right? So yeah. Mondo. There you go. That's not a bad one, Rico. Mondo. Duplantis, the pole vaulter. Not a bad pick. But yeah, Simone Augustus is definitely post 2000. She should be on there somewhere. And maybe a pre 2010 would be Glenn Dorsey. Maybe he deserves some credit. But my major point to start, the title of the video. I know it's recent and I know it's recency bias, but if you're going to ask a poker player, they'd probably tell you Dylan Cruz. Maximum value. Maximum value. You know, Mike's not alone on this. I mean, Chris Jackson was a superstar. But there you go. Did y'all say Shaquille O'Neal? Good to see you, Jules. Thanks for all your support on Twitter and on here as well. Yeah, so Shaq would be pre-2000. So that's Dale Brown, late 80s, early 90s era. And there you go. Now, I want to share something else with you at this point. Okay. In the next 10 minutes, I'll answer as many questions as I possibly can. But if you super chat, we'll keep going all night. All right. Because this has been a very fun live stream. Next thing, I will say this because you never want to admit that you are spoiled. But we are very spoiled as LSU fans. We are. We've got all these stars. We're winning all these championships. And, you know, I'm lucky to have remained, you know, in contact with people that I've met at other SEC schools and other SEC student media and so on and so on and so on. Okay. We are so lucky to have won all these national championships. We are so freaking lucky. Like after 2019 ended, I was like, whatever happens at this point happens. And we see this baseball team with these superstars on, and then freaking Alexis Morris and Kim Mulkey and Angel Reese and all of that. And, you know, when you win natties, it's like we said earlier, you got to have a lot of luck, but it's so easy just to talk trash. It makes it so much easier. You walk, and look, we got a bunch of LSU fans that live in Alabama that watch this channel, New Mexico, Utah, all over. Okay. What I would say, okay, is there are so many fan bases in the SEC that have not witnessed any national championships really during their lifetime, right? Like, I know a lot of Arkansas fans, it's been since 1994. Nolan Richardson, and they ran that guy out of town back then. Hall of Famer. Who knows how many more they could have actually, you know, gotten one. since 1994. They've won a lot of track things. They don't care. Think about Wake Forest. Think about Wake Forest. They're nothing. They're a decent basketball school. Yeah, Chris Paul and Tim Duncan randomly within a 10-year period, and then they just had this random number one baseball team. They have a game lead versus us. They had 2 chances to beat us, and their players act like they've never won before because they haven't, and they choked. They choked. Wake Forest, they win nothing. They win absolutely nothing. And the reason why I say this is, you have all these schools that have won nothing. Recently Ole Miss won a baseball national championship. Mississippi State won a baseball national championship. Vandy has won baseball national championships. South Carolina's won baseball national championships. But and women's basketball championships as well. They're still going to hate us. They're still going to hate us because we're going to be viewed as, the it school. The it school. What's up, Pierce? The double 2023 champs does whatever they want, including win more chips. Between Whitworth and Dorsey, I would go Glenn Dorsey. Obviously, Whitworth was the far better pro. But Glenn Dorsey, I'll go Glenn Dorsey. Wait, Wake Forest has won Quiz Bowl? Oh, yeah, SEC. It's not even remotely close. It's not even remotely close. I'll pull this up. I actually went and looked this up recently. Let me. I wanted to see how many times. Let me see. Okay, here we go. So, not only does the SEC win a lot of national championships in baseball, it's just the sheer volume of schools. So in 2023, that I don't think the final baseball poll has come out, but at the beginning of the tournament, the SEC had 8 teams in the top 25. In 2022, the SEC finished with 9 teams in the top 25. In 2021, the SEC finished with 7 teams in the top 25. 2019, 8 teams. 2018, 8 teams in the top 25. So they average 8 teams in the top 25 every year. So more than half of the baseball conference is amongst college baseball's elite in the top 25. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. It's not even close. Not even close. College baseball fan attendance. And this is what's kind of crazy about it, John. All right. So Florida Gator football has not necessarily been great in recent years. So, In 2020, the program fell apart. 2021, they sucked. 2022, they're middle of the road again. So hear me out, okay? This is why I think Florida is the most overrated SEC school. I know I'm fighting with Tennessee fans on Twitter. Tennessee's got great fans. I mean, they want to win so badly in every sport. Obviously, their biggest sport in history is women's basketball. They have history in men's basketball. They obviously have a lot of history in football. And, they got this new baseball program with this coach. At least Tennessee fans care. I just think Florida's reputation just far exceeds what it really is, which is a team that I don't think has as many fans as people think that they do. So their football team has been very up and down, really, since the Urban Meyer era. So you guys know, with Jim McElwain, they kind of backed into a few SEC championship games with Treon Harris at quarterback, who was awful. So, Florida's had just not really all that much football success. And previous to the Urban Spurrier years, they weren't really that great in football either. Okay. So you would think that now that their basketball team isn't really that great anymore, now, when what's his name? Billy Donovan left, their basketball team isn't really great anymore. Their football team's not really good anymore. They don't win a whole lot. You would think that Florida's baseball attendance, they have a coach, a really good coach, a controversial coach, but a really good one, who has been to the College World Series more than half of the years since he has been there. He also has made the championship series once out of every 6 years. So you go to Omaha once every 2 years, and you play in the championship series once out of every 6 years under Kevin O'Sullivan. He's a really good coach. Definitely top 5 coach in the sport. No one would disagree with that. But their baseball attendance numbers just aren't really that great. They're not really that great at all. Average attendance 3,500. 3,500. Right? 3,500. LSU baseball attendance well over 10,000 every game. Okay? Now I understand Florida has a far more competitive state when it comes to fan loyalty. You have Miami, you have Florida State, you have UCF, you have all these different schools. But I would have not ever thunk that they had so few fans at Omaha. I would, if you would have asked me before that if Florida made the final series, they would have at least 10K Jello shots. At least. They didn't even hit 5K. If you were to say, hey, Florida, it's got one of the best baseball programs in the country. They've got, a coach who's so freaking good at this. He wins every year. He goes to the freaking Omaha every other year. He's got players that could pitch and hit. He's that good. 3,500 fans a game? 3,500 fans a game? To witness a winner? A team that goes to Omaha every other year? It's weird. It's a weird thing. I don't know. And look, I'm friends with a lot of Florida bloggers, Florida podcasters. I mean, they generate clicks. They have a lot of fans. I just don't think that they support like other SEC fans do. I also think if you're going to support the team, like for instance, if I guess I got to go visit Gainesville again. I guess I do. And I love a lot of Florida Gator media. Like I think Fred Taylor is a very interesting guy. I think Chris Doering is a very interesting guy. I just think that they could support better. The legend of Florida man dulls every year in UF weekends as a result. I guess I got to go back. But I also think this. I think it's easier for LSU fans to have so many people visit Baton Rouge because people like going to Baton Rouge. They like the city. They just do. A lot of people fly. It gives you an excuse to fly into New Orleans to go to a game in Baton Rouge. Here's my argument to the contrary. This isn't like moving somewhere, right? Like, I get it. Florida's a fun state to live in, and they got beaches and all that stuff. But when you're going to Omaha, you're not going there to live. You're going there for a few days. Go support your team. But what do I know? What do I know? Augie Garrido. I love that man. I love that man. I just do. I'm telling you, him cursing out his team is just. Mm. Yeah, but it's your team. That's what I'm saying. Like, you shouldn't be outnumbered like that. Florida game this year is in Baton Rouge. We're playing them the week after we play Alabama. Okay? Now, I will say this. Okay? But yeah, you rock that LSU gear. You rock it, Sibley. I do have to point this out. You may call him Sunbelt Billy, but his 2024 recruiting class, are you kidding me? They are loaded, bro. Loaded. It is going to be very hard for us to finish ahead of them in this class. Now, once we get McKinley and a few of these other kids, we'll catapult firmly in the top 10. But goodness gracious, Florida's football recruiting for 2024, they're rolling, bro. They are rolling. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, yeah. Let's shout out the top super chatters of this evening. Black OT, Tony, TJ, Jared, who also dropped a super chat via Venmo. He is a winner of the Kim Mulkey card. Y'all show some love to Jared A in the chat right here. He went on vacation this past weekend, and he's still supporting PHL. He is getting himself a Kim Mulkey card on us. Now, type Y for yes, type in for no. You will be at tomorrow night's live stream at 6 Central. Type Y for yes, type in for no. You will be here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Central. Doing this to be more accessible to everybody. I'll tell you, Billy Napier is talented. Very, very, very talented. He can recruit. Barring a movie date, William, don't drop me a maybe. You're the reason why I'm doing the 6 p.m. Central, because I know on the East Coast it's tough for you to stay up late. But Pierce, barring a movie date, TLV, you can pop the earphones in, man. Or what you can do is you can have it playing in the background. You know, you have it playing inside while you do the yard work. I'm telling you, William. But a movie date. Is Oppenheimer out now? Is Barbie out now? I know the new Spider-Man's out with the Miles Morales. Lou Will, what's up? Lemon Pepper Lou is in here. You can PHL and chill, Pierce. I just hit the mic because I am smooth. What? Okay, I've got to show you this. All right. What the PHL Dayton show? Lemon Pepper Lou. This I don't know anything about this kid, but I've got to show you. This is so college football right here. I'm telling you, anybody that will tell you that pro sports drama comes close to college football drama, I have no idea who this guy is. No idea. But this is so interesting. I don't know what school this even is. Um, this is so interesting. So this is apparently a quarterback named Nick Garcia. Okay. I don't know what school. This could be a D2, D3 school. I think it is D2, D3. But this is a DM that he received. And this is just crazy. Oceanography. This just sounds like it's fake. Oceanography does not count as a natural science at TTU. And since you have attended 6 full-time semesters of JC, you need 72 hours to meet percentage towards degree. So Tennessee Tech is a school. Will only count 70 hours of transfer hours from JC. It is too late to take a class for a summer class at TTU. You are a fantastic player, but we can't get you eligible at TTU. You need to explore other options at other schools that will accept your oceanography class as a natural science. That is total horse crap, especially if he's been committed. Nick Garcia. Well, you could transfer to LSU. We could use another backup. College sports. Could you imagine your dreams of playing college football stopped because some people don't view oceanography as a science course? Your bedtime is at 6 p.m. tomorrow? Oh, it's your bedtime now. Okay, that makes more sense. Who's most to least likely? Texas OU, Florida AM OM. Well, Napier's not going to go anywhere if he has a top 5 class for 2024. I'm actually going to go with what job would Lane leave for from Ole Miss? It would have to be a pretty good job. So I'm going to go Oklahoma. Oklahoma, more than likely, than the others. That's just so weird. Oceanography. Could you imagine getting a Twitter DM? Thank you. Maybe Nick, it was a missing piece to get the what is it? Ocean One? Exactly. Tell him, Michael B. Oceanography. I transferred from high school in New Hampshire to high school in Louisiana. I had to take an entire freshman year to graduate because that is so wild. It's almost as bad. Yeah. That's one of those situations, though, AP, that I see both sides of the argument. Like, you don't want your practice footage released to someone going to a new team. I could kind of get that, but you should just release it. The more I think about it, but one way to get around it as a kid is just screen record all your good film. Don't screen record the film of you getting mauled. Screen record the good stuff. But I do feel bad for Dion. I hope this blood clot situation gets solved. Now, I do want to include one final thing at the end here. Okay. All right. I do think this is important to share. Okay. Um, this is going to be videos you have ever seen. And it is indeed very, very, very jarring. Okay. So this is Leonard Fournette. He was involved in some kind of automobile accident. This is via his Instagram. And yeah, you could see his Hellcat Durango burnt to a crisp. How does this this is just crazy to me. Look at this. I've looked at this so many times. Scary. So freaking scary. It's wild, man. It's one of the best LSU football players of all time. $80K. The engine is too hot and overloaded with speed parts. Fastest SUV on the market. Is that a Dodge? Why y'all hating on Dodges? What did Dodge do to you? Watch. Yeah. Watch Dodge. Dodge was thinking about calling me saying, hey, we're thinking about sponsoring your channel. But that guy, that AP guy, yeah, he cost you. And I'd be like, yo, look, AP's my homie. I even put AP's card right here for my setup this week. Look at this. Who remembers these things? Headliner Deion Sanders. Look at that. But Dodge says, yeah, we feel bad about AP and his $7,000 vet bill, but he cost you. He cost you that Dodge NIL sponsorship. So there you go. An Auburn DB grad. Yeah, he also got in an accident when someone rear-ended him back in 2018, and he had to sign all those autographs. Like all the people that came to save his car were like, "Hey, can we get a photo? Can we get you to autograph the bumper?" That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Here's for the Miss Dodge support. I love it. As someone who doesn't have an automobile right now, I will take anything that has four wheels. Mm. Dang, we go from vet bill experiences to car experiences. Lexus, there you go. I know you're riding in style, baby. For a transmission and a computer, a Jeep Grand Cherokee needs a laptop for it to run. That's crazy. There you go. Oh, AP super chatted, so y'all can air out your car grievances for the next 2 minutes, or if you super chat again, we'll hang out. I don't care. There's something like college sports, man. An oceanography class. What the hell? Mm. Oh yeah, we'll be live from 6. We might only go to 6:30 because the LSU baseball championship parade begins at like 6:30. Mm. Yeah, it's amazing how expensive vehicles are. And it's not just the vehicles, it's the insurance. It's like I had been paying I actually just canceled my insurance today. I'd still been paying insurance on a car that I hadn't had in forever. Um, I was like, God, I didn't even know. And then, you got sales tax, you got gas, you got all of it. Just buy a car. Like, how often do you use a truck trunk space anyway? But like we discussed in here before, it's better to have and not need than need and not have, I guess. It was cheaper for the 4 of us to fly to Mizzou than rent a car and drive. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm not feeling well, but we will be live tomorrow at 6 Central. We'll see you then. It is Power Hour. LSU, baby. Boom. And tonight, we're doing tacos. Let's go.